name is Kate Fail, and I'm here with Team Fantastic, and we are discussing Rafe Esquith's book, Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire. Rafe Esquith is a teacher in central Los Angeles. He describes his classroom, room 56, as tiny and leaky. However, he has made what he has been given into a warm, welcoming, happy, and inspiring place for his students to learn. Some traits he values and focuses on throughout the book and in general are good character, hard work, humility, unconditional support, and most important, trust. He is concerned about today's education system. He feels children are not being regarded with high expectations. Certain detrimental outside forces are causing a child's true potential to not be met or developed. He feels true excellence is achievable but takes sacrifice. You will make mistakes, and it will require much effort on your part. But as Esquith says, there are no shortcuts. What does Esquith mean by teaching like your hair's on fire? Well, one day while teaching a science lesson, he was so wrapped up and concerned with teaching that he didn't even notice that his hair had caught on fire. From that moment on, Mr. Esquith decided to always teach like his hair was on fire, and to be fully invested in the education of his students, and to not worry about the world around him. In part 1, There's No Place Like Home, Mr. Esquith discusses classroom management. He explains how most classrooms in today's world are controlled by fear. Mr. Esquith feels, instead, that the teacher should try to see things from the child's point of view and never resort to fear as a means of control. Teaching is more than educating a child on math or science. It's also about trying to make your students better human beings. He gives 4 tips for making a classroom a place of academic excellence without turning to fear to keep an orderly and in-control classroom. His first point, replace fear with trust, explains that you should show your children that you trust them and can be trusted. It is not enough for you to just tell them. You must show them. Explain that once trust is broken, it will take a long time for that trust to be earned back. Teachers should always make sure they deserve the trust a child gives them. You must not get frustrated at the child when they continue to ask a question you have answered. Instead, answer that question until they understand. And always give positive and patient responses, because this builds trust. His next point is children depend on us, so be dependable. The best way to build trust is to be dependable. When you come through on a promise, there's no need to talk about how you did it. Instead, just let the child see that you did so. That way they know they can depend upon and trust you. In other words, your actions speak louder than words. Also, once trust is established and maintained, a child is more understanding when you do have to postpone on a promise. Step 3 is discipline must be logical. Children can handle a tough teacher, but they will always hate an unfair teacher. The punishments you set must fit the behavior. There must be a connection. In other words, if a child is acting up during a science lesson, then ban that child from the science lesson. However, once they begin to act appropriately, invite them back in. Step 4 is you are a role model. As a teacher, you are constantly being watched by your students. This means you must act and behave as the type of person you want them to be. You must be an advocate and not a tyrant or power hungry. You must be firm, of course, but try to find a balance between being firm and also friendly. This goes back to not ruling by fear. Try to take your bad moments and turn them into good ones. Try to find a way to make these situations into teaching moments. Teach them a lesson, moral or value. If you are always becoming angry over the little things, then you are never going to solve the big issues.
My name is Ashley Latham, and in Chapter 5, Mr. Esquith talks about math and numbers. Numbers can be seen as a universal language. Everybody, everywhere knows numbers. Depending on the age, we can all add, subtract, or multiply, and we get the same answer. The problem with math is either you love it or you hate it. There's usually not anywhere in between. And the core of hating math comes down to truly not understanding the numbers, which this could all be stemmed from elementary years. Our students don't have to be trained to just pass their math test. We need to teach them what numbers really are and how to apply the numbers in their life. Mr. Esquith has provided 3 different games in this chapter of how to help his students learn to like numbers and learn them in general. The first game is called Buzz. It usually only takes 10 minutes to play, and it gets all the students involved. The teacher chooses a number, and this is the IT number. For example, the IT number would be number 3. The class would count together from 1 to 100, and anytime the letter 3 would come up, the students would have to say Buzz. The teacher would go around and call out each student, so they would have to pay attention and they have to keep up. If they do not buzz the right time or they say the wrong number, they sit down and they're out that time. The next 2 games are from a lady called Marcy Cook. She has a website, it's marcycookmath.com. She has lots of resources and games of how she teaches math, and it really does help the students. The first game she teaches, Mr. Esquith uses as mental math warm-up. This can be used to incorporate any type of lessons. He's used metrics and fractions, science, and history. The example he uses in his book is each of the students have number tiles, they're 1 through 9, and they'll get out their tiles and he'll call out a problem. As soon as they get to the answer, they put it up. He doesn't call out anybody, so nobody gets it. If they're wrong, they don't get called out and they won't get embarrassed. For example, the teacher will say, start with a number of states in the United States of America. So in their heads, the students all think there's 50 states. Then he tells them to add a dozen. Now they think 62. He then says to subtract the number of Supreme Court justices. They'll subtract 9 and now they'll have 53. He'll tell them to add the number of nights in a fortnight. There are 2, so now the kids have 55. Then he wants them to divide by 11 and show him his answer. All at the same time, the students should hold up the number 5. The last game we'll talk about is called Tile Problems. It's also from Marcy Cook. It's a packet of that has problems they're adding and they're multiplying. And the students has numbers 1 through 9 that they have to fill in the blanks. They can't be used more than once, so they have to play around because two addition problems might add up to the same number, but if they've already used it, they have to learn to find a different number. The great thing about Mr. Esquith is that he's told us that we need to value our quality over our quantity. There's no point in giving our students 500 problems if they know how to do 5. And the same thing is if they know how to do 5 problems, if they don't know how to do 5 problems, why would we give them 500? The thing that I'll take most from this chapter is that what Mr. Esquith said. He said his best students understand that mathematical excellence is earned through the process of learning, not by a test at the end of the chapter.
My name is Sarah Clever, and Chapter 6 is about how students want to run away and give up because of how much they are tested. The standardized testing takes a significant amount of time, and most of the time it isn't an accurate way to portray how the students are doing. In addition, the students never see the results, know how they did, or understand the point of them. Mr. Esquith believes that there needs to be some sort of way to show how the students are doing, but the current system doesn't work. In order to help his students do well and at the same time not put them under too much pressure, he teaches them how to study, how to develop good test-taking skills, and the heart of the matter they are learning about. To put them at ease, he tells them that the test is just measuring a certain skill rather than threatening them, saying that their future depends on it. Because after all, a low test score is not the end of the world, and the sun will still rise the next day. He believes teachers, as well as students, should measure their success or failure based on their own past actions, not to those of someone else. His students do well because he teaches them how to spot traps that the tests have and how to analyze and weed out the answers that are wrong by recognizing these traps that other careless students fall for. Life's most important questions are never asked on standardized tests. Mr. Esquith teaches his students that character, honesty, morality, and generosity of spirit are issues of importance. Creating an extraordinary student doesn't come from raising their test score a little higher, even though that is easier than teaching students honor and values.
The student's values are far more important than their test score, and when his students help a man pick up garbage on the side of the road, it means more to him than when they attend Notre Dame. This is his job. Every day he wakes up with a passion to better another student's life. Every day he wants to show the student what it means to be a good person. He shows them these things through his own actions. In a world where the meaning for education is dulled by testing and mean-spirited people, he shows that one person can make a difference and he will not give up. This is something we should all look up to, something we should all strive for. We shouldn't do things to be noticed or to be rewarded or because someone told us to. We should do them because we want to for ourselves and because we know it's the right thing to do in our hearts. This is what teaching should be about. The little things like helping a child who has fallen or helping a man pick up garbage show more integrity and success than a test score. I think people everywhere, not just teachers, should read this book and try to live this way. Anything worth doing is worth doing well.
To sum up, Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire, Rafe Esquith discusses that sometimes teaching is difficult, and some nights he goes to sleep, but can't sleep because of all the troubles he's experienced during the day. But when he can't sleep, he always turns to one of his past students' essays, a student who now attends Notre Dame. He reads it, and it reminds him as to why he became a teacher.
One of the quotes from her essays, she mentions that when she walked into room 56, everything changed. The world outside disappeared. Her fears and her horrors were replaced by happiness and laughter.
She goes on to say that it became her second home, and her classmates became her second family. She did most of her growing up in room 56, and it molded her into the person she is today.
I think this reminds us all that as a teacher, it's about the student and not about you. And you're teaching them so much more than something they can learn in a book.